Rueben, did the opposition actually contact you prior to its announcement and the interview on Sky News?
No, we didn't hear from the opposition prior to that. We'd had conversations last year about the process and how it was progressing, but did not specifically have a reach out from the opposition.
Well, they're talking about this has been in discussion within the opposition chambers since November. Was there any indication at all to you or other members of the Assembly that this may be in the offing?
They raised concerns they had, and particularly around cultural heritage, but that was in the lens of, as my understanding was, that if we could talk through these things, then there'd be a path forward. So yeah, it was a surprise to say that they've come out publicly to not support treaty.
What were some of the main concerns they've got about cultural heritage?
Yeah, so I think in the space of cultural heritage, anyone involved in that space knows that there's some issues that need to be addressed. There's not just issues from a non-traditional owner standpoint. From a traditional owner standpoint, there are some concerns. The particular concerns that were raised previously were in regard to some of the timeliness of getting timely responses on things and the fee system around cultural heritage management.
They've also mentioned Traditional Owner Settlement Act. Was anything being brought up about that?
I think that was in the broader scope of transparency, and we're quite confident that the system we've got for treaty negotiations here in Victoria sets out really clear, transparent processes so that no one should be surprised about what the outcomes are of treaty.
One of the things that you and I have spoken about a number of times over the past several months, especially in the light of the appalling result of the referendum in October, is the dissemination of disinformation. Now, already this morning we're seeing the emergence of this. We're seeing some members of the opposition saying treaty is racist, that treaty, the work towards treaty is actually going to put a halt or could disrupt the important work towards 8,000 high priority houses out in the West. Are you concerned, not about the validity of these, that the fact is that the conservative side of politics and media are once again getting on the bandwagon, emboldened by the referendum and starting another campaign of disinformation?
Yeah, that obviously is concerning, but from my perspective, we just need to make sure we keep getting out there and sharing the information. And I have trust and faith in Victorians that when they actually understand what this is about, they'll see the benefits of it for First Peoples and for all Victorians. So we just have to keep making sure we're sharing the information is out there, and keep countering some of those mistruths that are out there.
Have you spoken at all to Natalie Hutchins today?
I've messaged with Natalie and had her reassurance about the process we continue to be on here in Victoria.
So when it comes to treaty, to the process, what are the key messages that you want to get out there, not just to the black community, but to the broader Victorian community, which is going to hear a lot of disinformation over the next 12 months as we go towards a statewide treaty?
Yeah, I think a really key message is that treaty is not something to worry about. Treaty is not something to be fearful of. There's been all sorts of negotiations and treaty and recognition of Indigenous rights all across the globe. And I think sometimes we do get the sense that, yeah, Victoria, we are quite progressive from an Australian context, but there's been these sorts of discussions and negotiations happening globally for quite some time. And treaty outcomes are not something that people have to worry about. This is an opportunity to recognise First Peoples, to recognise their inherent rights, and to be able to then draw from the benefits of that recognition to enable Victoria to be a better place for everybody.
Thanks, Rueben.
My pleasure.